United States Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Mr. Secretary, welcome to San Diego. So this is an exciting day for us in San Diego because we love any and every opportunity to highlight this project, which has been the centerpiece of our region's advocacy in Washington for close to 2 decades. There is nothing like seeing persistence meet opportunity, which is precisely what happened 1 year ago when President Joe Biden and Congress got the bipartisan infrastructure law over the finish line and finally made this long-awaited and much-needed project possible. This project represents precisely the type of transformational investment that President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Mr. Secretary, you envisioned when this law was signed. This project is transformational because of our cross-border trade. It will have a huge impact on our regional and state economy, which loses out on billions of dollars due to excessive wait times for goods and supplies that go back and forth at San Diego's busy land border crossings. It's transformational for air quality by reducing emissions from idling trucks. I'll remind folks that our border region has suffered the impacts of poor air quality more than any other part of our city. And I believe that we all share a common goal of addressing that inequity. And of course, this project supports that. And finally, it is transformational for the quality of life in the region, a region where so many people lead binational lives, crossing the border each and every day for family and for work. This investment by the federal government is an investment in the lives of San Diegans, and it is going to make a huge impact on our region. So I want to thank the two entities who really led on this project and on this grant. They've been leading this charge for a very long time, and that is Caltrans and Sandag. Great leadership. We appreciate both agencies. As I mentioned a moment ago, this is really about the lives of everyday people. And you'll hear now directly from two San Diegans, Lalo and Greg, whose livelihoods depend on a well-functioning supply chain and a better border crossing right here at Otay Mesa East. I'll just conclude by saying thank you so much, Mr. Secretary, for coming back to San Diego. I want to say our deep appreciation for the investment in this project and what represents the future of San Diego right here in Otay Mesa East. With that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you all Eduardo Lalo Acosta. Lalo?
Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate that. And Secretary Buttigieg, I can't stress the importance of having you here because this really literally puts this project on the map. We've been so blessed to have to be talking about this project for many years. And for me, I've been a businessman here for 32 years. I'm a U.S. Customs broker by trade. Being here for so many years, what I've turned into by nature is rather than promoting my industry in the region, I've become a promoter of our region for many different industries. I think if you can't have all the industries put together, it really won't work. People have asked me recently and in the last couple of years, is this border really necessary? And the answer, quite frankly, is a resounding yes. This facility, this border crossing, this new port is so important for many different reasons. We order stuff online and you're thrilled that it's there the next day. And if it's not there the next day, you're wondering why. Well, one of the main reasons it is there the next day is because it's shipping from Tijuana. As you're familiar, a lot of these trucks in Tijuana now, a lot of the facilities used to be big manufacturing sites that have turned into fulfillment centers, not only manufacturing. This region is really set up to become a hub for raw material manufacturing. We have Long Beach, we have Ensenada, potentially one day we might have Punta Colonet. There's just so many things that are happening. And we know how long it takes to build a border like this. If we need it now, imagine what it would be like if we start thinking about it now. I think the important thing is that we need it. We have the support from the city, the county, the federal government. I was born and raised on the southern border in Arizona, but I've been here for 32 years. There's no other border like this one where everybody needs to cross the border for everyday life. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce a colleague of mine, a fellow user of the port from the California Trucking Association, Greg Dubuque.
Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here this momentous morning. My name is Greg Dubuque, and I work with Liberty Line Haul West. We're actually based out of Los Angeles, but we do have operations here in San Diego. We run a fleet of about 40 trucks out of Los Angeles, and we do a lot of work crossing both the southern and northern borders into Canada. We have trucks at Otay Mesa here every day. It's a critical port of entry. Trucks come down from the LA ports, the Long Beach ports, and pick up freight here going to Inland Empire and points throughout North America. Sometimes we're picking up cargo from a Mexican carrier. Sometimes we're dropping it off. But the wait time is unbearable. Just a couple miles away, it takes 5 to 6 hours at times for a driver to cross the border. That means we've got U.S. drivers who are stuck waiting for a handoff from a Mexican driver that lose entire days. We've got drivers who sleep in their vehicles overnight, running heat or air conditioning. They're burning fuel, burning money, and burning time. And it's just not the driver. This hurts people and businesses all over the country relying on essential goods coming from right here in Otay Mesa. That's why we're so excited about this project. A better port of entry not only means goods move more freely, it also means a better quality of life for our drivers, both US and Mexican based. I know that firsthand because I still drive a truck on occasion, and I've made the trip down here to the border several times, so I know what it means for our drivers. It means they can sleep in their own beds at night a little more often instead of in their trucks. It means more time spent driving and more money in their pockets. In our industry, time is our most valuable currency. Saving hours or even minutes has a real impact on our business. And this is going to save us a lot of time. So I thank everybody here today, and it is a pleasure to be part of this event. Thank you. I'd like to pass it off to our Lieutenant Governor, Elena.
Thank you so much, Greg. It's so wonderful to be here with everyone. Yay! We're back at Otay Mesa East. And how marvelous to be here to welcome Secretary Pete Buttigieg, our wonderful Secretary of Transportation for the United States. Mr. Secretary, I hope that you see what we all know is represented by the folks here right now, which is a tremendous decades-long effort of local government officials and business people who see the potential growing the relationship between the United States and Mexico by investing in infrastructure right here in San Diego on the California border. When Governor Newsom and I were both elected about 4 years ago, he asked me, because I'm a former U.S. ambassador, to serve as California's representative for international affairs and trade. And the very first project, the very first effort that I identified as the one that was most important for the governor and I to get behind was the effort to build the Otay Mesa East project. What sets us apart as Americans is our can-do attitude. The region of San Diego, of this incredible region that represents both sides of the border, is so remarkable, and that is the driving force that has led us here today. Now, at a certain point, local government needs help too. And that is where the governor and I have been able to step up and step in to help raise the awareness and to resolve some of the final things that are necessary to finish. And so let me just recognize and commend the government of Mexico for the tremendous steps forward they have made over the last few years to complete their side of the border crossing, which is obviously necessary. And Mr. Consul General, thank you for being here representing Mexico in moving forward with the groundbreaking on the Mexico side. Thank you. And then, of course, the role of the federal government. Only in California do we come together to celebrate what happens on the border between the United States and Mexico. Mexico is our most important foreign partner to us here in California. And whenever we come, whether it's for our groundbreaking or agreement signing, we celebrate what goes on in this relationship. For you, Mr. Secretary, to be here representing President Biden and all the people of the United States in recognizing your $150 million contribution to building the customs building here. Let me just say, this is now the most recent high point in getting this project done. There is, however, more work to be done. So as we celebrate and recognize your leadership, Secretary Buttigieg, in helping to build the customs facility, we also need to remember that we will need additional support, engagement, and investment by the federal government to bring this project to completion. And when it is completed, more great things will come, including having people and products and trucks passing through what will be the state-of-the-art crossing here between the United States and Mexico. So with no further ado, I hope everyone will join me in gratitude and recognition of Secretary Buttigieg's leadership in helping to deliver the funds to build the Customs Center here, and also in anticipation of your ongoing support to bring this project to completion. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, former Mayor and current Secretary of Transportation of the United States, Pete Buttigieg. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And thank you in particular to Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, who has been enthusiastically encouraging me to make this visit for some time. And I'm so glad that we've been able to do it today. Pleasure and honor to be here with Mayor Gloria. Once a mayor, always a mayor. So I always admiring of the local problem solving that you're doing, along with County Supervisors Fletcher and Vargas. And Sandag has distinguished itself in many ways. So it's great to see that local leadership. Great to be with Secretary Omashakin, who I first got to know when he was part of the process of educating me and the transition team as we were preparing to take on this role, and is doing such great work on behalf of a governor and state administration that understands the importance of infrastructure. And it's a pleasure to be here with my own colleagues, including colleagues from FMCSA that we'll be with shortly, our terrific Motor Carrier Safety Administrator, Robin Hutchison, and of course, our Deputy Secretary of Transportation, my partner in working to build good things well, Polly Trottenberg. Thank you all for the warm welcome and for the terrific work that has led us to this point. We are here to talk about how we're building a stronger and more resilient American economy, and to celebrate a great example of that in this project that will create jobs and reduce costs for folks here in San Diego County and across the country. It's possible in large part, I want to emphasize, because of the work of the entire California delegation, including so many of your representatives in Congress and your two senators, who said that, yes, it is time to put away the repeated talk of so-called infrastructure weeks coming and going without result, and instead work across the aisle and work with President Biden to deliver a historic infrastructure package, investment that is going to be benefiting us for the rest of our lives. You have shown what can happen when state and local leaders come to get important things done. And you've shown the philosophy of programs like the one that is providing this funding, which is that we're not going to think of all the great projects from headquarters in Washington. The ideas come from around the country, but more of the funding should come from Washington. And that's why we're here. And when people think about transportation, they often think of some things more than others, the things that most people use, roads and bridges and seaports and airports. But safe, secure, and high-tech border crossing, they're important for ensuring safety, for securing stronger supply chains. And that's especially true in this region, one of the nation's busiest, most economically significant land ports. In 2019, nearly $50 billion worth of goods, along with 112 million people, passed through San Diego's two ports of entry. And growing volume is threatening more congestion and more pollution for a facility and a community that are already hard-pressed to keep up. That is why we are pleased to award the California DOT $150 million for the Otay Mesa East Port project. And let me just briefly illustrate some of the things that funding for Otay Mesa will bring. A new inspection facility for commercial trucks, 10 new lanes for incoming vehicles, state-of-the-art inspection equipment, zero emissions chargers for staff vehicles, and state-of-the-art technology designed to make the entire operation safer and more efficient. Significant benefits include, for one thing, a new and improved inspection facility, meaning that we can keep goods moving through our supply chains more efficiently, which is even part of the fight against inflation because it keeps shipping costs under control. It means we can better ensure the safety of commercial truck drivers, their vehicles, and the goods that they carry. And I really appreciate Greg conveying that perspective of those for whom infrastructure is a workplace as well as a tool. I think about the math of what it means to reduce those hours spent here, less time wasted for truckers means more time at home with loved ones. It makes both an economic difference and a difference in terms of quality of life, as well as lower costs for consumers. As major international freight and industrial hubs, border towns and locations like this also stand to see more economic growth in the manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, research and development, and other sectors, creating so many jobs here. And that's why I also appreciate Eduardo's examples on behalf of the business community, that everyone wants to come to San Diego, but no one wants to wait in line, as he said. And the project carries so many benefits for businesses, truckers, consumers, and residents. So it's good for consumers, strengthening our supply chains. It's good for truck drivers, saving time and money. It's good for the people who live here, who will experience less traffic and pollution. But I also want to emphasize this is just one of dozens of projects that we have been able to support, many of which are right here in Southern California. For example, picture one of those trucks that's going to come through Otay Mesa. It might head north to a warehouse connected to the Port of LA, where we recently announced $20 million to build a new 4-lane roadway and bridge, which will save truck drivers a total of almost 2,500 hours every day. Another truck might be on its way to one of those distribution centers in the Inland Empire, where we just awarded $15 million around Fontana for better bridges, crosswalks, streetlights, and bike lanes. That truck will move more efficiently, and just as importantly, students on their way to Etiwanda High School will no longer be sharing the road, competing with that truck in order to safely get to school, because they will have an adequate and safe route to school. I want to end just with a broader thought, which is the historic context of the work that we're doing. Being able to say yes to great project proposals like these improvements to Otay Mesa East. Being able to make improvements everywhere from here at the border to places 1,000 miles inland. Coming in the context of what I like to call the big deal. We had the New Deal under FDR, under President Biden, the big deal. Investments that are not just improving transportation infrastructure, but clean water, broadband internet access, and investments in human beings, in our families, in our lives, lower prescription drug costs, veterans benefits that have long been sought, and bringing more high-tech manufacturing to America. This administration is demonstrating what happens when we put aside special interests and focus on making life better every day for every American. And that is exactly what is going to come of this project. So again, I want to congratulate all of the leaders here for your vision, your hard work. The work is not done, but this is a major milestone, and we're delighted to celebrate it with you. Thank you again for everything that's brought us to this point.